You walk into a room, stop dead in your tracks, and have absolutely no idea why you are there. Or you are mid-sentence, and the exact word you need simply vanishes from your vocabulary. When this happens, it is easy to assume you are just losing your edge, failing to focus, or lacking the willpower to push through the workday. But that heavy cotton wool feeling in your head, what we call brain fog, is a biological distress signal. It indicates that the fundamental physical needs of your body's most demanding organ are being ignored. This diagram shows the massive physical cost of running your cognitive hardware. Your brain makes up only about 2% of your total body weight, yet the gauge here shows it burns through roughly 20% of your daily energy. Because it is such a highly demanding machine, when it lacks sufficient fuel, rest, or maintenance, your brain does not shut down. It intentionally throttles its processing speed to conserve power, and you experience that slowdown as a thick, unyielding fog. During deep sleep, brain fluid pathways called the glymphatic system activate, flushing out metabolic waste. Sleep under 7 hours, and this cleaning crew goes home early. Waste removal halts, leaving a toxic backlog of cellular debris linked to Alzheimer's. Clinical data shows that staying awake for 17 to 19 hours straight impairs your reaction time and logic to the exact same level as a person who is legally intoxicated. Right now, 1 in 3 adults regularly misses that 7-hour sleep threshold, subjecting their brain to chronic maintenance failure. Waking up with a cloudy mind means you're forcing your brain to process today's thoughts through an uncleared, toxic backlog of yesterday's metabolic waste. Beyond nightly maintenance, there is the problem of daily fuel. The brain burns through roughly 120 grams of glucose every day, but it requires a steady, continuous drip of energy, not a sudden flood. This line graph charts blood glucose over 90 minutes after a sugary breakfast. A sharp initial spike triggers an insulin overcorrection, driving blood sugar well below the baseline. That steep crash brings immediate fatigue, irritability, and cloudiness. Then there is the biological coolant. The human brain consists of roughly 75% water. Losing just 1 to 2% of your body's water volume causes a measurable drop in concentration and short-term memory. This decline occurs well before you physically register the sensation of thirst. Relying on sugary meals and ignoring baseline hydration creates a biological environment where your brain lacks the basic chemical resources required to sustain concentration. A constant barrage of unread emails and urgent demands triggers the continuous release of cortisol. This is the exact same stress hormone your ancestors used in short, intense bursts to survive physical danger. Look at this comparative model of the hippocampus, the brain's memory center. The healthy left structure contrasts sharply with the noticeably shrunken structure on the right. Prolonged exposure to high cortisol physically remodels and degrades the organ you use to think. We compound this chronic stress by sitting perfectly still. Remaining motionless for hours deprives the brain of oxygen-rich blood and the essential growth proteins triggered by physical movement. A sedentary, high-stress lifestyle forces your brain to operate in an environment structurally hostile to its own health, ensuring the fog continues to roll in. Finally, there is how we manage our processing bandwidth. We flip between screens and incoming messages, assuming we are multitasking, but we are actually accumulating cognitive debt. Research on task switching reveals that frequent, quick checks of notifications prevent the brain from ever reaching a state of deep focus. Because it takes over 20 minutes to fully recover from a single interruption, your brain spends the entire day trapped in an exhausting half-attention mode. Fracturing your attention into dozens of shallow tasks drains your processing bandwidth, guaranteeing mental exhaustion by mid-afternoon, even if you never completed a single difficult piece of work. Because brain fog is a predictable mechanical failure driven by poor inputs, it can be systematically cured by engineering better ones. Start with the physical interventions. Going for a brisk 20-minute walk outside boosts your cerebral blood flow almost immediately, while keeping a glass of water at your desk and sipping it throughout the day prevents the microscopic dehydration that kills focus. Next, stabilize your fuel supply. Building meals around proteins, healthy fats, and slow-digesting carbohydrates ensures your brain receives a steady glucose drip, avoiding the blood sugar roller coaster entirely. Protect your bandwidth by working in focused blocks of 25 to 50 minutes. Then, give your brain actual rest by letting your mind wander in silence. Scrolling your phone is just more data input, not recovery. If you make these changes and the fog persists for weeks, consult a doctor. Conditions like thyroid disorders, anemia, and long COVID severely impact cognition, and they are highly treatable. But the most critical foundational intervention of all is giving the cleaning crew enough time to work. Establish a strict sleep routine of 7 to 9 hours to reactivate that nightly flush of metabolic waste. As this blueprint schematic illustrates, your brain is the most sophisticated biological machine on the planet. By supplying it with the exact operational inputs it requires, you can lift the fog entirely, and that reset begins tonight with a full night of sleep.